Joshua Nkomo, a man whose very name is intertwined with the struggle for freedom in Zimbabwe, known with deep respect as Father Zimbabwe. He dedicated his entire life to the liberation and dignity of his people. In today's video, we dive deep into his journey from his humble birth in Matabeleland, through decades of resistance, to his leadership in independent Zimbabwe, and his lasting legacy after his passing in 1999. This is the story of a man who lived not for himself, but for his nation.
Well, I'm going back into politics. I think I've had sufficient rest.
Yes. Just what sort of politics will you be going back into as your organization has been banned?
Well, I might as well ask Mr. Phil through this medium that he lifts the ban on ZAPU because of a number of reasons.
And just what are those reasons, Mr. Nkomo?
First, it was said that ZAPU was banned because it intimidated the people. The allegation was that we intimidated the people from registering as voters and a number of other allegations. Well, as far as we're concerned, we were supported by the people by refusing to register. Now that we were not there, we asked the people not to vote. And it was quite clear on the last elections that the people did not vote because ZAPU had said so. So that it is quite clear that we are supported by the people. It is for Mr. Phil now to make up his mind what he is going to do with an organization which is supported by the bulk of the people in the country.
Supposing that Mr. Phil doesn't entertain in any way your request for the ban on ZAPU to be lifted, what will you do then?
Well, what I know is that I'm going into politics, and I will wait until Mr. Phil replies to this question.
Do I take it that even if you don't go into politics in this country, you will perhaps go into politics in another country and establish your organization in exile?
I'm not leaving this country. I'm doing politics here in Southern Rhodesia. I have no intention of leaving the country at any time.
Joshua Nkomo was born on June 19 in 1917 in the Somokwe Reserve in Matabeleland in southern Rhodesia, present-day Zimbabwe. He came from humble beginnings, the son of Thomas Nyongolo Nkomo, a cattle rancher, and Mafikizolo Nkomo. He grew up in a rural community, surrounded by values of hard work, resilience, and community solidarity. These early influences shaped his vision of leadership that served his people, not power.
This country has been ruled by a minority white community for 85 years. Now, 85 years is a very long time, and when we say majority rule now, we mean that the majority of the people as a whole, not excluding white people, all the people together, must have a constitution that gives them the right to choose the government they want, together, as a people, not just as black people.
Joshua Nkomo is now negotiating with Prime Minister Ian Smith as the unofficial leader of Rhodesia's black nationalists. Nkomo spent 11 years in prison for his political activities, and it's a significant sign of change in Rhodesia that he's now a free man and fighting harder than ever for black majority rule.
If you don't get what you want, if you don't get black majority rule as soon as possible, would you yourself consider taking up arms, leading an armed struggle against the white government here?
What I've said is that the armed struggle is on now. It has been on for the last 10 years, and we have been involved in one way or another, so the position will not change.
Nkomo attended mission schools, trained first as a carpenter, then later as a teacher. But his thirst for knowledge did not stop there. In the 1940s, he pursued higher education in South Africa, studying social work at the University of Witwatersrand in Johannesburg. It was here that he was exposed to Pan-Africanist ideas and the growing wave of African nationalism sweeping across the continent. South Africa's apartheid system left a profound impression on him, reinforcing his belief that colonial systems were unjust and had to be dismantled.
Noah's living room measures approximately 20 feet by 9, and if the front door is kept permanently closed, there's room for a sofa, 2 chairs, a sideboard, and a radio. Noah has 4 children, whose ages range from 1 to 6. There's one bedroom for them, and another bedroom for Noah and his wife. There's also a kitchen of unbelievably cramped proportions. This is the lifestyle of the average working-class black family in Salisbury, and Noah is better off than most. His next-door neighbour earns $12 a week working in a clothing factory. In this part of Salisbury, living conditions are somewhat more luxurious. Here, the living rooms are built on a grander scale, and there's a bedroom each for the children. These are the homes of the white families in Salisbury, and it's not hard to find areas where the houses are even grander and the gardens even bigger. On average, the head of the household here would earn over $200 a week. This isn't a white ghetto. There are plenty of blacks who live here too, but they don't own the houses. They do the gardening and the household chores, and on average, they earn about $30 a month, plus free board and lodging. These are the simple economic facts of life in Rhodesia. Noah Kowo is aware of the big difference in living standards between whites and blacks in Rhodesia. He cares about politics and has a cousin who lives in exile in Zambia working for one of the black nationalist movements. Noah says the time has come for black majority rule in his country, and that the Rhodesian government is heading for trouble if it refuses to make concessions.
Upon returning to Rhodesia, Nkomo became deeply involved in community organizing and trade unionism. His work with African railway workers gave him first-hand insights into the harsh inequalities that black Rhodesians faced under white minority rule. By the late 1940s and early 1950s, he emerged as a key in the nationalist politics. In 1957, Nkomo was elected president of the Southern Rhodesia African National Congress, one of the first major African-led political movements demanding equality and representation. Although the Southern African Rhodesia African National Congress was banned by colonial authorities, Nkomo did not waver. He continued to organize under new names and new platforms, determined to keep the flame of liberation burning.
Progress has been made, considerable progress has been made. And as a matter of fact, it is Carrington who has not given to the Patriotic Front definitive answers on a number of issues. The question of land. I mean, you know that there is a war in Zimbabwe. The war in Zimbabwe is about land. And this is where we find Britain unable to yield to the popular demand of our people, so popular that they had to sacrifice their lives to get this thing, that is land.
His ability to adapt and reorganize under constant repression made him a powerful and resilient leader. In 1961, Nkomo founded the Zimbabwe African People's Union, or ZAPU. Under his leadership, ZAPU became one of the most influential liberation movements, calling for an end to racial segregation and the creation of a free Zimbabwe. Unlike some leaders who pursued narrow ethnic or regional politics, Nkomo envisioned a broad and inclusive nationalism, one where every Zimbabwean, regardless of background, could stand united. ZAPU gained strong support internationally. especially from the Soviet Union and other socialist countries, which later helped him train and equip its military wing, ZIPRA. This marked the beginning of the armed phase of the liberation struggle. As colonial repression intensified in the 1960s, Nkomo and his colleagues recognized that political petitions alone were not enough. ZAPU launched ZIPRA, its armed wing, to fight alongside other liberation forces. Nkomo himself traveled the world, rallying support for Zimbabwe's freedom. He became a respected international statesman, meeting leaders across Africa, Europe, and Asia. To the outside world, he was the face of Zimbabwe's liberation struggle, earning the admiration of many global allies. But his activism came at a cost. Nkomo spent years under surveillance, detention, and harassment from Rhodesia's government. Yet he never abandoned his mission. To millions of Zimbabweans, he became a symbol of courage and persistence, the embodiment of hope.
A school in the African township of Highfield, a few miles outside Salisbury.
Good morning, class.
Rhodesia's next generation of Africans are being taught English, the language of their European masters. The teacher is Mary Gabella.
Stand up. Jump. Jump again. Turn round. Turn round again. Now sit down.
White Rhodesians say they've given the non-whites a new civilized way of life, but it's only a tantalizing glimpse of what might be. Certainly there's been help with education, health, welfare. Few black Rhodesians are starving, and most are well clothed, for it's a prosperous country. But there's still an enormous gulf between the expectations of whites and blacks. Even when blacks are lucky enough to get similar jobs to whites, they get less than half the salary. Though apartheid here isn't as rigid as it is in South Africa, non-whites still can't eat, travel, play or set up home as they please. In many cases, they've abandoned the simple life they were born to, only to face the shortcomings of civilization.
Do your family know what happened to you?
Exactly, I'm going to tell you.
But how and when?
When Zimbabwe is free, when I happen to get them, because I know Smith is bombing at random, so I don't know whether I'll meet them. If I meet them, I will tell them I lost my leg in the battlefield. I was trying to free them.
By the late 1970s, the liberation struggle had reached a breaking point. International pressure, armed resistance, and the determination of the people forced the colonial regime to negotiate. Nkomo played a key role in the Lancaster House negotiations of 1979, which paved the way for Zimbabwe's independence. He sat across from British officials and the Rhodesian government, representing the aspirations of millions who longed for freedom. In 1980, Zimbabwe was born as an independent nation. Nkomo, though not elected president, accepted a role in the new government under Robert Mugabe. He served in various ministerial positions, later becoming vice president. While he did not hold the highest office, his influence as a founding father of the nation was undeniable. Nkomo consistently advocated for unity, reconciliation, and healing, urging Zimbabweans to work together in building their new country. As Zimbabwe transitioned into independence, Nkomo continued to be a steady voice for peace and national unity. He devoted himself to ensuring that the sacrifices of liberation struggles were not forgotten, and that Zimbabwe remained a land of dignity and justice. On July 1st, 1999, Nkomo passed away at the age of 82. His death marked the end of an era. The nation mourned the loss of a leader who had dedicated his life to the cause of freedom. To this day, he is remembered as Father Zimbabwe. His face graces banknotes, his name adorns streets and institutions, and his towering statue in Bulawayo reminds generations of the man who gave his all for his people. Joshua Nkomo's life is a powerful reminder that true leadership is not about holding power, it's about serving the people. From a small village in Matebeleland to the highest offices of government, his journey reflects resilience, sacrifice, and vision. Though he is no longer with us, his dream of a united and free Zimbabwe lives on. If you enjoyed his biography, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more inspiring stories about Africa's leaders and Africa's legacy. Until next time, thank you for watching.